G'day guys, Sim here, and welcome to another league racing video. Now this one is from a stream I did last Tuesday of RaceSpec Esports PC Pacific Preseason Evaluation. Now this evaluation consisted of two races, one at Silverstone, 25% race with short qualifying, and another one at Belgium, another 25% race, but this time with one-shot qualifying. I believe safety car was turned off for both races because they were really just measuring our race pace and didn't really want us getting affected by safety cars and stuff if anyone had any incidents. So going into qualifying, we go out on the soft compound tyre, I believe, and just looking to not make any mistakes like we did at Singapore in our first lap, trying to avoid spinning or anything, because, you know, wanting to make a decent impression this time instead of looking like a bit of an idiot. So here we go, out onto our first lap now, just trying to get as nice an exit onto the front straight as possible through the Vale chicane, and coming into turn 1, easy flat, 8th gear, no issues here at all. Through turn 2, turn 3, I believe down into 4th gear, 3rd on apex, back up to 4th. On the power, braking down to 2nd gear and short shifting up to 3rd. Onto the Wellington straight, easy flat through here, and just trying to gain as much time as possible on the straight here. Down to 4th gear, just missing the apex there unfortunately. And then down into 2nd, short shifting to 4th on the power as early as possible. So there's a yellow flag as I believe the car has gone off in sector 3 at Stowe. So we go through cops, easy flat here, maybe a small lift, I'm not really sure. But we're just catching up to this Red Bull that's on its outlap unfortunately. And just starting to get through some dirty air through Maggotts and Beckett's. And on the exit of Beckett's we just miss the apex entirely, catch the dirt, and once again, we've spun on our first qualifying lap. So, out on our next lap, I know, a bit embarrassing, looking to do a little bit better. I believe at this point, Revo has the fastest qualifying lap currently. But once again, easy flat through turns 1 and 2. You know, we know that already. Much the same lines. I think we're down on our time currently. So looking to make up as much time as possible, and just going up through turn 3 there, but still down through turn 4, but getting a much better exit and already 2/10 up, getting a little bit of a slipstream here off Revo, which I didn't expect at the time. That was completely unplanned, and down into 4th gear, hitting that apex much better, now up I believe nearly 4/10 through, and then short shifting up to 4th gear here. Still up 3.5 tenths. Yep, 3.5 tenths coming up into cops now, which once again should be easy flat through here, which I think we do very nicely. Maybe a little bit more time on the table there. But now up, I think, yeah, nearly 4 tenths, but just missing the apex here and making a bit of a mess of Beckett's, honestly, and through Chapel as well. Losing about a tenth there, unfortunately. But I think we make up a bit more time here through Stowe as we brake nicely down into 5th gear, catching the apex early on the power, into 7th gear, and then braking heavily here into the Vale chicane into 3rd, short shifting to 4th, and gaining 3, nearly 4 tenths, or over 4 tenths, and that puts us in 3rd on the grid. So just, I think it was, yeah, 100th separating myself and Rudy. Revo was miles in front, he was like a second in front of Rudy. He's pretty much esports level, so that's not really surprising, but, you know, I wasn't upset by that lap. So here we go, coming onto the start, and this time, once again, trying to get as good a start as possible, not make the same mistake from Singapore in AFR. We're just nice and calm, putting it up to, I think, 10,500 revs. And we are away, and it's not a bad start. I think Rudy gets a small jump on us, but we get better traction in 4th and 5th gear here, and just go around the outside at turn 1, nice and easy for the inside on turn 2, and just braking late into turn 3. Just an absolutely ripper start. I think we get a little bit of contact from Rudy, a little bit untidy there, but, you know, nice to get into the lead. Tao gets through on Rudy as well. So I think here we have like an insane battle for the rest of the race, Tao and I. But yeah, he goes for the move here, just not quite far enough up. We try and leave him space, but yeah, there's not quite enough. He's not quite far enough up there for that move. So we managed to hold the position. This battle, I think, continues on for the rest of this lap, though. So yeah, as you can see, he's like right in the slipstream here, trying to gain as much time as possible to go for a run onto the hanger straight. So here we leave it in rich through Maggots and Beckett's, trying to get as much speed through there as possible, hitting those apexes nicely, only down to 6th there, which is interesting, and we get ourselves a 6/10 gap, which without the DRS is well and truly defendable into Stowe, thankfully. So still just trying to stay in the slipstream of Revo. It's not really going to work out for us. He's just a little bit too quick for us, unfortunately. And just trying to get away from Tao as much as we can. As Revo sets the fastest lap, a 1:30.1 on the first lap of the race, which is insane. The man is insanely fast on this game, much like last game. And then, yeah, we just managed to pull away a little bit, but I think the Delta is lying to us a bit here, unfortunately. Just like a 2/10 gap or something, which I don't think was completely accurate. But skipping on to lap 2, we run wide again at the exit of Beckett's through Chapel, and Tao gets the run on us and gets past. We tried to defend, but in the end, I think I ended up flicking it down to standard and just thinking, well, you know, sit behind, we get DRS next lap, we could just save some fuel and ERS and, you know, leave the move until a little bit later. And, you know, we're not really under threat from Jacob Meister. He's 1.3 seconds back, so already out of DRS, so not much of a threat for us. And I thought, well, we'll just stay here. But skipping on to lap 5, we both dive into the pits. And I didn't know this at the time, but Tao actually sped into the pit lane there and gave himself a 5-second penalty, and that'll really play in later in the race. But as I said, I was unaware of this. I didn't check penalties for the entire race, which is a little bit silly of me, unfortunately. But going through the pits, I think we're looking to jump him potentially. Being in the Williams, we may have an opportunity, but no. He just gets out in front of us, unfortunately. I think Jacob Meister has also gone for an extra lap as well on those softs, so looking to overcut us as well. But Rudy also came to the pits with the two of us. So at the moment, it's a 3-way fight for second place. And I can guarantee that gets very, very interesting at the end of this race. But yeah, Tao, just out of the DRS there at the detection zone, I believe. So he got a much better pit exit than I did. But so we are forced to use fuel and ERS, but thankfully a few laps later, we are back in the DRS zone and really looking for a way past. I think Revo has well and truly run away with this now. He's 10.5 seconds up the road. But Jacob Meister is only 1.4 seconds off our little train here as well. Rudy 7/10 behind me, so also in the DRS range. But I think we flicked it down into the lean just to cool off the engine a bit, ready for the hanger straight, and we're looking for a good run out of Beckett's, which I think we're going to get. Flicking it up into Rich, overtake using DRS, and I think we go for the overtake here into Stowe. Do we get it? Yes, we do. Up the inside, nice and clean. And it's this point I'm thinking, okay, 5 laps to go, 38-ish% ERS, almost a lap extra fuel. Let's try and push away here as much as we can. Just try and get that DRS, that 1 second gap out of DRS for Tao. But unfortunately, we just can't quite manage it. We're pushing out to now a 4/10 gap, but of course Tao will have DRS now on the next straight here. So now a 3/10 gap, 2/10 gap, unfortunately. So he really got a much better exit out of there than we did, and now closing in very quickly, but not enough to go for the move there. So it's still a 4/10 gap. Now half a second, so we're pushing it out slowly, just trying to get as good an exit as possible, using ERS to get that extra pace on the straights. Now a 6/10 gap, so really trying to stretch out that margin as much as possible. Nearly out to 7/10 now as we go through Maggots and Beckett's here, but as you can see, he just closes in on us through those apexes as we don't get a particularly good run through there. And he's only 6/10 behind in the DRS zone, so 7/10 now. So really, we've wasted almost all of our ERS for nothing in that instance, as Revo pulls out another second on us in that amount of time, as we catch the sausage curb there, and that really unsettles us. So flicking ahead to lap 10, we only have a 4/10 gap. We've managed to save a little bit of fuel, a little bit of ERS. We're just far enough to defend the position again on lap 10. But the gap is now only 2.5 tenths, and on the next lap, it's 3 tenths. We have to use rich fuel and a little bit of ERS on the straight just to stay in front here. Still, at this point, unaware of penalties. I know that I have none, but I still haven't checked if anyone behind has penalties. Lap 12, slightly bigger gap, so less need to defend on this lap, thankfully. But I think we're sticking on for the entirety of this next lap. You'll see Tal has a few opportunities on this lap, being only behind me by less than half a second now. And me, I think I only have 0.15 extra laps of fuel and only 17% ERS, so really struggling for deployment modes at the moment. And you'll see out of this corner here, we get a shocking exit, I believe. Like, Tal gains a 10th on us just out of the exit of the corner without using DRS, and we're forced to use ERS to defend the position here. Flicking it back into lean now, and turning overtake off, just trying to save anything we can left for the hanger straight. You'll see Tal is within 3 tenths of us. We get a shocking exit through there, coming onto the old pit straight into Cops, and he is right on the tail of us. This is the closest he's been to the back of us since lap 2 when he got the overtake done on us. And we're looking for the best possible run through Maggots and Beckett's, slightly cutting that corner there. Just getting a poor run through Beckett's here on the Chapel, missing that apex, and Tal has the opportunity now. We flick it into overtake, rich fuel mix, going for the outside, thinking there might be more grip out there, trying to defend the position as much as possible, getting a better exit, and going for the overtake on the outside of the Vale chicane. But we can't quite get it done around that. We're pinched on the inside, and as we get on the power here, we spin it. We take out Rudy as we go. Really unfortunate ending. I think Jacob Meister also spins, but the penalties do us justice, and we managed to get away with second place somehow. Yeah, really exciting race. Really pushing hard there at the end, and extremely exciting race. So moving on to the next race, unfortunately Revo had to go. One-shot quali at Spa. 7th gear, not bothering with 8th, and shifting down to 2nd. Short shifting up to 3rd on exit, and really getting on the power right through here on the run down to Radion and Eau Rouge. Really trying to get keep it as straight as possible, lose as little time as possible through there, and get a good run onto the straight here. Just holding it as much speed as possible, and just getting ready for the braking zone here. Not setting a purple sector in Sector 1, so unfortunate, but in 4th gear through here. Shifting up to 5th on exit. And back down to 3rd gear. Locking up there massively and getting a shocking run through the middle of the corner. Up to 5th, back down to 4th gear. Back up to 5th. Tal retiring from the session, supposedly disqualifying or invalidating and just not bothering to continue. Aussie suspect also disqualified from the session. So then coming up here after Puong, down into 4th gear, holding 4th up to 5th on exit, up to 6th, and back down to 4th here for the end of the middle sector, and setting a purple middle sector, so really strong through there on this lap. And just, yeah, always just putting the power down all the way up to the bus stop chicane, trying to take the shortest lines possible all the way through here, just preparing for the braking zone, down into 3rd gear, missing that apex and just compromising our run through the second half of the bus stop. On the power nice and early, DRS, and that is pole position for the second race. As you'll see, that's not necessarily a good thing. As we know, the run through Radion and Eau Rouge and on the straight is a very long run, and Slipstream is still rather powerful on this game. Not to the same extent as 2019, but still very strong. So coming onto the start, once again looking for a decent fast start. Minimal wheel spin, just see how we go. Not bothering to put it up into rich fuel mix. And getting the revs up to 10 or 11,500, and a nice clean getaway. Really nice, using overtake for that little bit of extra speed and braking nice and early for the corner. Possibly should have gone out wider there, but didn't want to squeeze anyone too much, and getting a nice run out of the corner. But you'll see, James Geeky here has an insane amount of slipstream behind me. Nearly less than a tenth behind going through Eau Rouge. We don't get the best run through there either, so we're just holding down the overtake button. Just trying to keep that straight line speed. And as we get into the corner here, he's alongside and we are squeezed to the inside. And right there, we just get the slightest little tap. That's really unfortunate, you'll see. I'm really frustrated. Really, there was nothing more than a racing incident there, but just the lightest amount of contact there spun us around. But we continue on. Now down into 11th place from first position. And it's really not looking good at this point. We lose the back end slightly there through No Name, as one of the racing points there spins around, unfortunately, gifting us a position. And unfortunately, Panel there in the McLaren also spinning through Puong, gifting us another position. But skipping on to the end of lap 1 now. At this point, I wasn't too confident with how I'd go, but if you look up, Jacob Meister is on the tail of that lead group, and he's only 5 seconds up the road. So, you know, there's every opportunity for us here still, as unfortunately our teammate Hobbsy has gone into the pits, I think with wing damage, also spinning on that first lap. So, yeah, I think we skip on a bit here for a few laps. Just watching this gap close in, so now a 3.6 second gap to Jacob on this lap, and we set the fastest lap of the race after Rudy did. So really showing that we have some decent pace around here for this race. Coming up again, Jacob has made it past John here, and we only have a 1.7 second gap here on this next lap. Once again setting the fastest lap of 45.8, so really confident with our race pace at this point. I think on the next lap here, we are very, very close to John. As you can see, within DRS range now. And just using overtake to get as close as possible, ready for the run through Radion and Eau Rouge and that DRS zone. To go into the overtake, go for the overtake later on. We're just trying to gain as much time as possible here. Rich fuel mix, not using overtake just yet, not really necessary. But using it here, and really looking back at this now, I don't think that was necessary. It was possibly a bit of a waste. Although John is using overtake as well, we probably had the overspeed on him already as we get the move done. Although he fights it back a little bit and we have to leave the space, but nicely done. And that's us into 4th position and a purple first sector as well. So very, very nicely done. So I think we continue on with this lap, because as you can see, the gap is now 2.3 seconds, now 2.1, so we are really closing this gap in. I don't think anyone in front has any sort of damage either, so this is just our pure race pace closing us back in. And as you can see, another 10th there through Puong. I believe the cars in front, Jacob and Tal, are having a bit of a battle. Rudy's sort of getting away at the front a little bit. So we are just doing our best to close this gap in as much as possible. Now 1.9 seconds the gap. So absolutely flying right now. Losing 3 tenths to our best lap there in the middle sector. I believe that was mostly down to the overtake on John, but absolutely flying. Now 1.8 second gap coming up to the bus stop chicane, and just really trying to nail every apex and gain as much time as possible through every corner. As you'll see here, I decided to follow Jacob and Tal into the pits and just get a little bit of damage. Only lime damage, just a little bit stupid on my part though. But I think that did have a little bit of an effect on my pace for the rest of the race, as all of us hold up Rudy here, unfortunately, on his pit. But both of us also hold up Jacob a little bit here, and there's potential for us to jump him through the pits, I think. But unfortunately, no, he just gets out in front of us. But we do gain a lot of time on him in that pit stop, which is really fortunate for us. John also pitting behind. So now, a 1.5 second gap. I believe we gained 3 tenths in that pit stop. And skipping on to the next lap, it's 8 tenths. So our pace is legitimate here. Tao is another 2 seconds up the road, so probably got the cleanest pit stop out of all of us there. And we've set a purple middle sector here as well. So, like, I think at this point, we're all closing in on each other. Tao is closing in on Rudy for the lead. Jacob's closing in on Tao, and I'm closing in onto the back of Jacob. So we're all absolutely flying. I think my teammate also set the fastest lap last lap, but now Jacob steals that off him. Absolutely flying as well. And now, you'll see, Jacob is almost in DRS range of Tao, or is in DRS range of Tao, but we're outside of it. So now, Tao, I believe, is in DRS range of Rudy and pulls away a little bit. But thankfully, skipping up ahead, we gained back some more time through the last 2 sectors, and we're in DRS range for the start of this lap. But once again, we get a shocking exit there and lose a little bit more time. But just managing to stay in the DRS zone somehow. And I think we get a nice run through Radeon and Eau Rouge, but not good enough to catch up to Tao when he also has DRS on Jacob. But you'll see, Rudy is just up the road as we gain so much time into the braking zone there. And yeah, it's just such a good close battle between the 4 of us here. We're all really well matched on pace. And just taking it easy through there. Maybe should have put it down into 2nd gear for the extra rotation. And just cruising up onto the back of Tao here. Skipping up, I believe, another lap. Yes, to lap 10. And we're still stuck here. 9 tenths the gap. Almost out of DRS range now on Tao. So that battle there, they're sort of pulling each other away from me a little bit there and up to Rudy. So sort of struggling a bit behind them through the middle and last sector by the looks of it. But we're really strong in this first sector now. And sticking in DRS range. I think this is the final lap now. I think we'll stay on board the entire time. Yeah. It's just been an absolutely insane race. So as Jacob tries to go around the outside there, switching back to the inside, but just can't quite manage it. And I think we go for the move here, but we're just not close enough. And we're still stuck behind. So, like, really, really just struggling to find a way through, getting more and more desperate at the moment on the last lap of the race. But just not able to find a way through. Not knowing if Rudy has penalties either. I believe Jacob and Tao both have penalties at this point. But really wanting to fight back for that win, given we had pole position and we're a little bit unfortunate off the start. As you can see, there's just no way through for us. We're almost out of ERS. We still have a little bit of fuel to play with, but both Jacob and Tao get a much better exit there. As we do actually check for penalties here. And Jacob has a 6-second time penalty. So, in saying that, we have the potential for a podium here fairly easily, and it's first place. And there it is. Keeping it clean gets the win, boys. So at that point, I was really amazed with that. But yeah, not an expected win after the first lap there, but I was very happy to take that, as our teammate gets the fastest lap on extremely worn mediums on the last lap. Tao gets driver of the day, deservedly, starting from last place. I don't think I was too impressed with that, with how I performed going back and forth up the grid. But yeah, that was just an insane race. both races really. And yeah, if you want to see more of this, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on Twitch to see it all live and see my reactions in the moment. And yeah.